What's up, friends? This is Manni. Nope, Pixonic. Still too much. It's better, but it's still too much. By far. As you can clearly see here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the updated version of the ultimate Shocktrain that just one hit killed 3 guys in a row. Wait, let's make that 4 100% targets in a row, okay? Pop, there we go. So, we'll get to this moment in just a second. Let's first check out the test server. Last time it was 130,000 damage per shot on the Shocktrain. Now, it's 65,000. So, it's like half now. And, actually, it is exactly half, yeah. And that means you should now have a much more balanced version of the ultimate Shocktrain on the test server now, should you? The thing is, though, yes. I mean, yeah, it's better than before, but it still one-shots anything. And that is even on regular robots. I'm not even talking a Pathfinder robot that could potentially quadruple the amount of possible damage output here. I mean, we also boost the damage. We have the nuclear amps. We have the Pascal drone, so per kill, we're already here, even on the test server, boosting the damage output. But a Pathfinder would be able to make that another 120% additional damage on top of the calculation we can do with this setup here. Okay, I just killed 2 guys with 1 shot there, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, of course it's fun to test this on the test server, but if this would actually enter the live server, it would just be fatal. It would just be fatal for the game, so heed my warning, please, Pixonic. This is not a good idea. I like that you have already gone down and changed the values, right? It's half. Can you imagine? It's now half as powerful as before, and it still does the same thing. Nothing changed, even though you literally take half of the damage away from the weapon. Can you imagine how insane it was in the first time? This is just outrageous. But yeah, now being... Yeah, just 2 Shocktrains killed the entire shell. Did you see that? The first 2 Shocktrains dropped one of the shields. The other 2 Shocktrains actually dropped the entire rest of that shell. I assume I already got my 5 kills, so I boosted the damage output with the Pascal drone by around, I think, 45% or so. 42%. 42, I think, is max. And so that's what I got. And on top of that, of course, now the nuclear amplifier is providing another 72% of additional damage boost. However, there are no pilot skills here on the test server, so we don't have the Power Man skill. Look, I just halved a Newton. With 1 shot, I just halved the HP of a Newton Titan. That is just ridiculous. And now, by the way, look, the Fafnir actually doing a really, really good job here. I mean, look at this. It's just taking out a freaking, yeah, Eiffel Titan. That is insane. Did they boost it on the test server? Because that was a high amount of damage output. But remember, we had maximum boosted with Pascal and nuclear amps. So probably this is the reason why we did so much damage with that Fafnir. Makes me want to bring it back out on the live server too. So don't be surprised when one of the next videos sometime soon is going to be a Fafnir video decimating some Titans there. But yeah, another thing that I only realized after the last test server playing it last time, the physical shield on the Bulgasari ultimate is literally impenetrable. You can't destroy it. Not even the physical damage, like the projectile kinetic damage that the Eiffel just did, which does double damage against physical shields. Not even with all of that, he was able to get through this. So this ultimate Bulgasari is literally impenetrable by any weapon that doesn't have splash damage. Again, also here, gotta say, Pixonic seems like a terrible idea to me. Physical shield must be destroyable, otherwise you can literally shield yourself forever. And with the Bulgasari, in the case of the Bulgasari, you can even fire back at the enemy, because the Bulgasari actually has, depending on the weapon, when you run, for example, the ultimate Shocktrain or a Scourge or so, you can like aim at him with the furthest side of your crosshair, and you can still fire at him while holding up the shield. That is what made the Bulgasari back in the day so powerful. Those of you younglings who entered the War Robots playing field later may not know this anymore, but back in the old Bulgasari meta, it was a common thing that players knew very well how to handle the Bulgasari and hold up the shield while shooting you at the same time. Excuse me. Especially with Shocktrain and with Scourge, for example, right? So those weapons were very often being used for that. Now here, of course, I expected the Shed Lu to do this move, and thankfully I already dropped his last stand before, so that wasn't a big deal. But yeah, I am worried, and of course I have to say, last time in this video where I said War Robots is pay to win with that. With the notion of comparing the Shocktrain Ultimate versus the regular one, and I still stand by that. If Ultimate items are like this much more powerful, it is literally the very definition of pay to win. But I also understand you can't weigh the Ultimate version of Shocktrain versus the regular version, because the regular version of Shocktrain is such an outdated, terribly no damage dealing weapon. It is such a useless piece of garbage that you can't just say, alright, this is such and such amounts of regular Shocktrains and that's why it's OP. No, it's OP because it does this. Okay, plus the chain damage and the fact that it just all that does that conveniently at max range, now even without a lock-on time, right? So that's what makes it OP. Not necessarily because, oh, it's like 3, 4, or 5 regular Shocktrain. That doesn't matter because the regular Shocktrain is just this freaking outdated. Which, in my opinion, should mean one thing. It just means buff the regular Shocktrain and make it useful again. But of course, that's not how War Robots operates. No, instead we're getting an Ultimate version that is like now about 6 or 7 of the regular Shocktrains, probably. Maybe even 8. If we were to, you know, to add it all up and compare it to the one performing regular Shocktrain, I would say one of the Ultimates now on the test server, after losing 50% of the damage from the last test server, is probably still like 6 Shocktrains of the normal ones, maxed. Okay? And that is, in my opinion, that's still too much. For a weapon that is so merciless, a weapon that is able to do all its damage in one swift kick in the nuts, right? And then you can't even get away from it anymore, because the moment the guy hit the button, it already happened. There's nothing you can do better now. Now all the damage has been done, right? So I think a weapon that does all its damage in one hit has to be done careful, and this here is the opposite of careful, in my opinion, and still needs a lot of different re-changing of numbers. The 6 seconds recharge, I like it when weapons don't have a long recharge time. It makes the game more dynamic and more paced to a fun gameplay, right? So, for example, that's why Ballista for me is a lot more interesting than Trebuchet. Even though the Trebuchet can hit harder per one hit, constantly being able to shoot with a faster recharge makes the Ballista a much more interesting weapon for me than a Trebuchet, which, by the way, also outdated as heck. But just in terms of firing speed, it is good that it charges fast, but the damage output has to be significantly much lower than that if you really want to make this work for War Robots and not break the game with it. Yeah, so let's just say at the end, it is still too much, it's way too much. But it's on the test server, and this is where it belongs when it's not finished and when it's too powerful. So far nothing has gone wrong. I hope it will find a sweet spot of balancing where it's good, fun, interesting, and people are interested in having it and are trying to get it, but without having to break the game for it. Alright, so thanks for watching, catch you in the next one. Manni signing off. Bye-bye.